Thank you.
Right, go for it.
So let me start today's thing. I've just recently did a course which is mBit coaching, to gain another qualification in the coaching. But firstly, a quote from Donald Trump. Experience taught me a few things. One is to listen to your gut, no matter how good something sounds on paper. It's an interesting comment from someone who's a very powerful person. A couple of Melbourne scientists, Grant Sluice, I think his name is, and Marvin Oka, they're two Aussie guys by the way. They started doing a bit of research into this gut feel thing, and they didn't do their own research initially. What they did is they looked at research by other people. The meditation, they found there was research to show it actually changes your brain structure. And the information about brain sizes in various animals. A couple of interests: the cat. It's a pretty intelligent animal. It's got about 750 million neurons in its brain. And you're probably aware that if you forget to feed the cat, who's in charge? A lobster, initially thought to be a pretty dumb sort of animal, but as it turns out, they actually understand how lobster traps work and come and go like it's just the kitchen. They're also social, which we didn't know before, and quite capable of doing quite a number of things. But also the number of neurons in our human body. In our head or our brain, we've about 86 billion neurons, a fair number of neurons. In our hearts though, this is interesting, they actually found that there's roughly 60,000 neurons in our hearts as well. You go back to the lobster, so that is roughly the same number of neurons as in a lobster's brain. The question is that intelligence or is it just neurons in there? And the next one is our gut. 750 million neurons. If we go back to our cat, that's roughly the intelligence of a cat. Deep down inside it. The question is, does it actually do anything other than digest food? Well, let's look at our language. You know, those gutsy effort. Wear my heart on my sleeve. My heart's just not in that. She made my heart sing. It's an interesting language here. Why is it in our language we don't say, she made my foot sing, or my leg just wasn't in it? What is it about the heart and the gut is so deep in our language? So is there evidence that there is actually really, like the Eastern cultures say, there is really intelligence in the gut and in the heart? So I'd like to share a little story. A few years ago, a young girl, she was 8 at the time, she had a bad heart and she needed a heart transplant. And eventually another tragedy made a heart available and gave that girl a second chance of life. So the heart transplant was carried out, the parents were very pleased. However, a few weeks later, she started getting really bad nightmares, seriously bad nightmares about being murdered, and they were persistent. And the parents think, well, she had a major trauma, heart transplant, we'll take her along to a psychiatrist to see if we can get this sorted out. The psychiatrist, after a few sessions, came to the conclusion: these are not false memories; these are real memories. Where are they coming from? So parents did a bit of research, and as it turned out, when they finally got down to who the donor was a 10-year-old girl who had been murdered. Well, that's pretty spooky, but the really spooky thing is they took that information to the police. The 8-year-old was able to give the police a sufficiently accurate information on the murderer that they identified him, arrested him and convicted him. So, a murder evidence from beyond the grave. So yes, it does appear that our intelligence is contained not just in our brains but also in our organs and also our memories. Because There was another one just quickly, there was someone who got a heart transplant again, and he kept getting flashes of what he thought was Jesus and a bright flash of light. Investigation turned out the heart had come from a police officer who'd been murdered by a vagrant with a gunshot. The flash was the gunshot. So, the prime functions. Well, our brains for thinking, I think we already knew that. So it's cognitive stuff, making things mean stuff. Our creativity is contained in our brain. And by the way, this is not 100% definite, this is the trend. Our heart's about relating, emotion, love, values, thoughtful courage. I think we all instinctively knew this. And our guts about survival stuff, core identity, self-preservation, mobilisation, compassionate purpose. With the, you wonder where this comes from. Why isn't our intelligence contained in our brain? Well, the theory on the gut one in particular is if you think of something like a snail or a sea slug, they have no brain, yet they can still work out how to find food, they can still move, they still know what they're eating. Maybe it's because their intelligence is actually in their gut. So what's the process? It's called mBit, multiple brain integration technique. It sounds a bit new age and airy-fairy, but in actual fact it's scientifically based. So the application. If you know someone who's stuck, they're not moving forward, there's a sticking point. They're not in balance. Their head, heart and gut aren't in balance. So one of them's saying, I don't want to do this. And so therefore we don't move forward. Or if we're processing important decisions like the Donald Trump thing, going through and saying, okay, the head says this, what's in the heart, what's in the gut? So the mBit technique allows us to actually access quite powerfully exactly what is in the gut, what's the gut feeling really saying. And goal setting. If you set your goals and your whole body is in alignment with those goals, that's when the goals become powerful, and that's when you go and do wonders in the world and carry things out. Because if you've got a goal in your head, but your heart and your gut are saying, no, I don't want to do this, that's not going to happen. And this is a tool for moving forward. It's not the answer to everything, like this is just one tool as a coach I use. In some circumstances it's the appropriate tool, and a lot of time coaching's on other subjects. And the other thing is garbage in, garbage out. If you're working through this process and you go, okay, my gut feeling is saying this, but you've got complete information, you'll still make a bad decision because your gut doesn't have the information to actually supply what you need to know. So, signs that mBit coaching could be appropriate. A business owner who's lost the heart for their business. They're making imperfect decisions just purely on logic. They're thinking things through and going, that's the right decision, and then it's not turning out. It's a sign that they're not listening to their gut and their heart as well. People are being kind to other people at the expense of themselves. They're running with their heart, but they're forgetting the logic behind it. If you want to set powerful goals to really, really do well with what you're doing or do well in the world, get that head, heart and gut running together in the same direction. Or someone with a huge vision, they've got this thing they want to do, but somehow it just keeps not happening. Again, the body's not aligned. About me, an ideal referral. What was the decision-making process that led to hiring a cat? And sometimes our decisions are a bit like that. Business owner who's plateaued, someone who's reached a point and they're not moving ahead. They want to move ahead. They want to make better decisions. So these are the people I'm looking for. Or they're looking for a solution to a particular issue. So thank you very much.
talking about, it probably crosses over a little bit into something like even that Jackie talks about every single week. So where do you, how do you work in with someone like that?
Well, none of this is in isolation, and some of the people I've actually used this technique with have been to Jackie and been done some of Jackie's meditation stuff, and that really helps in this process if someone's learnt meditation with someone like Jackie, so they can actually get into the right feel of following through on their head, heart, gut instincts. And well, none of it's not isolated. Like, coaching is about the whole person, the whole business. And Jackie's side is also about the whole person, and she must cross over into business as well. So we're in a continuous spectrum here rather than isolated. No one did. I've stunned everyone. Sorry. Or maybe they're all afraid to ask anything.